Hello, welcome to our primer on starting right in high tunnel production. Throughout the primer, we include tips on the process of starting high tunnel production, beginning with evaluating if it is truly your best option, through installing your first high tunnel if that is what you choose to do. We emphasize starting right because doing that helps you succeed in the short and long term. As we take up the basic and very important question of whether high tunnel production is truly your best option, we offer 5 reality checks. Think of them as issues to consider before committing to high tunnel production. In this video, we highlight reality check number 5. However, before we get to that, let's recap reality check number 4. In reality check number 4, we urge you to keep in mind the fact that high tunnels often cannot be insured, that their total loss is only partly preventable, and that a contingency plan to deal with the loss of your high tunnel should be in place before you install it. We emphasize that installing a high tunnel increases certain aspects of your potential financial risk or exposure for which you should be prepared. Reality check number 5 is that alternatives to high tunnels may be better for you because of what they offer. Low and high tunnels have been used for many years and are considered standard. Mid or caterpillar tunnels are increasingly common, but not yet as common as low and high tunnels. Regardless, low tunnels, whether they are installed by hand or by machine, can be an integral part of your operation, whether they cover flat ground or temporary or framed raised beds. Mid or caterpillar tunnels are larger than low tunnels, but smaller than standard high tunnels. Therefore, mid tunnels fit a niche that neither low nor high tunnels fit. Mid tunnels can be used year-round in many locations, either separate from or in conjunction with low tunnels, and or open sky production. In contrast to high tunnels, mid or caterpillar tunnels can also be easily installed by their user nearly anywhere and at a fraction of the cost. Low and mid tunnels, cold frames, and similar structures are well suited for protecting low-growing crops from seeding or transplanting through harvest. Only tall crops cannot be brought to maturity in these alternative structures. Regardless, low and mid tunnels can be used alone or in combination with each other and or high tunnels for additional protection and season extension. Low and mid tunnels, cold frames, and similar structures are familiar and reliable alternatives to high tunnels. As this chart and the one on the next page indicate, low and mid tunnels, cold frames, and similar structures are not equivalent to high tunnels. They cannot replace high tunnels entirely. However, the advantages of the options that other than high tunnels should be taken seriously. What is important to know about these viable partial alternatives is that they are smaller, less costly, and more easily positioned and repositioned and scaled up or down. Also, perfecting your use of them will prepare you well to succeed at high tunnel production if you choose to proceed with that. In fact, many successful high tunnel growers used one or more alternatives before beginning to use high tunnels, and they continue to use these alternatives in or alongside high tunnels as shown in previous pictures. Given the 4 other reality checks, consider viable alternatives to high tunnels if you have serious second thoughts about buying and committing to using a high tunnel. This recommendation applies especially if you have little or no experience with the alternatives. Low and mid tunnels, cold frames, and similar structures are the best partial alternatives to high tunnels. Perfecting your use of the smaller structures represents an excellent opportunity to perfect the same techniques you will need and to address the same tough questions you will face when managing a high tunnel. In truth, one or more of the alternatives are exactly what some high tunnel owners should have, but do not. Instead, they became somewhat starry-eyed with the possibilities available with a high tunnel, only to learn later they had bitten off more than they can chew. Of course, ultimately, it is up to you to determine if you are prepared for the trade-offs between high tunnels and their partial alternatives. People like me in Extension, growers, and other trusted advisors are ready to help with the decision. So, in summary, high tunnels are very effective when selected, sited, repaired, maintained, and used properly. That said, people do fail at high tunnel production often because they focus on its potential, not its difficult realities, and they overlook other viable options to strengthen their business. Consult with trustworthy experts as you look to identify the structure or structures that fit your operation best. Thank you and good luck. Enjoy other videos in this series, and please do not hesitate to contact me if I can be of further service.